We begin in Germany, where more than 20 people, including former military officers, have been arrested in nationwide raids. They're suspected of organizing a far-right plot to overthrow the government. Officials have called the group a terror cell and have accused members of planning an attack on the parliament in Berlin. About 3,000 security forces stormed more than 30 properties across the country in coordinated early morning raids. Prosecutors said if successful, the group planned to install a former German royal as the country's new leader. There are reports they had contacted Russian officials with the aim of negotiating the country's new order. But the Russian embassy in Berlin has denied these allegations and any links to Germany's far-right groups. Sibel Karkush is in Berlin and joins me now live. Sibel, what more do you know about this plot and the arrests?
So this is considered the biggest anti-terror operation in Germany's history. We have more than 3,000 officers who have raided around 130 homes in the early morning hours across the country. 25 people have already been arrested, 2 of them abroad in Austria and Italy, but in total we have 52 suspects. So what we know about the group, the so-called Reichsbürger movement, is that they were planning to overthrow the German government, the current democratic order, which they consider illegitimate, and they wanted to re-establish an order similar to the German Reich back in 1871. And so what they were planning was to storm a parliament, but they also planned attacks on infrastructure such as on electricity, and the ultimate goal was to re-establish that former German Reich order. And they actually also had quite detailed plans of what a future cabinet should look like. One of the people who have been arrested is a former AfD MP of the far-right AfD party, and she was actually currently working as a judge at a regional court here in Berlin, and she was meant to be the future justice minister. And they also wanted to set up a sort of tribunal where the current politicians would be held to account. So all of this sounds quite crazy and abstruse, but looking at the sheer size of this operation, the threat is quite real. And also consider that these people, the member of the Reichsbürger movement, are people from the middle of society. So we not only have MPs who are members, but we have doctors, also soldiers, active soldiers from special forces and police officers. And that's what makes this movement so dangerous.
Sibel, what more can you tell us about the threatened rise of extremist groups like this in Germany?
So they have been certainly on the rise in recent years. We saw that not only in particular during the first stages of the pandemic, where we had a massive protests where these Nazis and Reichsbürger were mixing with people who have a similar mindset to the QAnon movement in the US, but also they have become increasingly violent in recent years. Armament among the far right has arisen by 1/3 in 2020. And that's also when far-right crimes have hit a record high of more than 45,000. And we see that they're also increasingly willing to use the weapons they have. One of the most deadly attacks has happened back in 2020 in Hanau, where 9 people with a migrant background have been killed. But they've also attacked politicians. Walter Lübcke, a Christian Democratic politician, he was killed in 2019. And we also see increasing attacks on synagogues. And what's again so dangerous and difficult is that we have people with the same mindset still sitting in German parliament today. There have been more and more far-right radical chat groups that have been uncovered among police and also firefighters. And all of this is, of course, a very worrying development, especially in light of Germany's history.
All right, Sibel Karkush in Berlin. Sibel, thank you.